hippopotamus. Folks, welcome back to the Land Fixer podcast. I am your host, as usual, Logan Swanson. Today we have a return guest. Is it a three-peat? Have you been on three times or
I
twice?
think maybe twice.
Okay.
Maybe
Oh,
twice.
yeah. Either way, Jessey Kwong, the man, the myth, the legend, the operator and owner of Pebble, a great resource for land investors. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for having me on. I know it's a busy time for you right now. I'm super excited. So I appreciate you letting me come on to speak to the audience here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And folks, remember, as usual, if you need any funding for your land flips, subdivisions, entitlement projects, anything along those lines, as long as it's flat and not vertical, reach out to me at thelandfixer@gmail.com or check out our website, landpartnerfunding.com. With all that said, Jesse, what is going on, man?
Yeah, no, there's been a lot going on here at Pebble. We've been really focusing a lot on the mailing side of things. I put out a blog post
Oh,
end of
wait,
last.
isn't mail dead? Nobody mails anymore. What are you talking about, mail?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think a lot of people are leaving because the cost of mailing, scares a lot of people away. It was not like back in the day where we're just like, yeah, let's just do it.
Hmm.
And I think there are a lot of like sexy sounding things out there. And so, mailing sort of gets less attention, and then, the people that are serious operators behind the scene, they're pumping out more mailing. I wouldn't say than ever, but they're keeping up with the pressure of mailing. And so, we've gotten really into some of the data here, and I wanted to share some of that. End of last year, I put out a blog post, and shoot, I don't even know what the blog post link is, but you'll find it if you head over to pebblerei.com/blog. I think it's like literally like the title is like, is mailing dead or something like that? Or no, I
Yeah.
think it's like mailing is making a comeback. And so what we've seen in the last 12 months is that mailing has dropped about 44%. Deals per mail has gone up 41%. And that's been really, really interesting. And you can sort of see like the top operators are like really dominating with mailing.
Hmm.
They're also using other channels. Some may tack on a little bit of cold calling. Some may tack on a little bit of texting. But mailing is one of those things that has been really, really consistent. So it's weeded out a lot of people. Unfortunately, a lot of casuals that are just kind of coming in and testing the market are also mailing, but and sort of sending out things there that build a lot of distrust with owners too.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so we've seen a huge sort of rise in mailing, and again, we've sort of seen a bunch of different things, and I don't even know where we can start with when it comes to mailing and what we've been seeing.
Yeah, so I guess let's first start. I know you mentioned something that you want. You're running a webinar that's going to cover a lot of this more in depth. So go ahead and tell folks about that
Yeah,
before we get into it.
yeah, and that can sort of tie into some of the stuff here. On This is going to happen on May 12th, and hopefully some of you guys that are catching this earlier on are going to catch wind of this. If you head over to pebblerei.com/winning postcards, and that's one word, winning postcards. This is where, like, I mean, I'll probably start off with the big one here. Like, I am a firm believer in postcards. Now, there are nuances to this, right? So,
Hmm.
a lot of the data that I'm going to share here today are going to be averages across millions and millions of mailing. We're not, I'm not pulling this out of my butt here. The great thing about Pebble is that it's like sort of a closed loop system where you get and launch your mailing, the insights feed back in, um, and we're learning a lot of interesting things. And we're actually building a lot of insights, sort of analytics inside of Pebble now. And we're launching that very shortly here. So you're going to get a lot more insights and a lot more mileage with sort of the juice that you're putting into the system. So again, postcards are what I'm a huge believer in. And I'll sort of throw that first thing out there. Why is that I'm such a huge believer in it? I mean, I still keep this on my desk. I probably showed it to you last time on my
Yeah.
podcast. I don't know. But We saw there was one specific format of a postcard outperforming everything else, including letters and even including a specific um, postcard format. And that was the 4 by 6. The 4 by 6 almost had a 3x more deals than 6 by 9 and any sort of letter. Now, again, I want you to make sure that you understand this is on average, right? So this
Right.
is, we looked at last 3 months, 6 months, and all the way back to 2024. This has been consistent across all those windows that I just listed to you. And I sort of have a theory on that. I'm going to speak more about that as to how do we structure these postcards and um, but I think it comes down to simplicity. You don't have a barrier. You can create really, really hyper sort of interrupters with a postcard. The great thing is postcard is cheap and like
Yeah. And you don't
it's
have to
cheap.
open it. I
You
mean,
know,
that's
and
one thing
that's the
is
big
like,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I always think, I mean, honestly, I moved away from any sort of bulk mailing house
Yep.
just because I could tell, like, our response went through the floor. We were unable to really get a lot of good metrics behind it. You
Yeah.
also weren't sending first class, so you weren't getting return mail if it wasn't deliverable to sender. So I just literally, near the end of, because I haven't done, large acquisition campaigns in a while, but near the end, I just kind of felt like I was lighting money on fire and just throwing it out the window. And it got sickening. And I know a lot of people have experienced that and feel the same way, but I always thought, like, how much of this is even getting opened?
Yeah.
But if there's nothing to open,
Yeah. I spoke to somebody in one of the groups he was part of. I mean, he's like an old school guy, and he talked about in his industry of advertisement back in the day and copywriting how postcards was the thing to always send out. And now we see it in the data. Now, I think there are things that you can do to further sort of interrupt and get attention. Here's another stat I'm going to throw at you um, is using property images.
hmm
We saw an average, there's a 30% lift in response rates when it comes to using a satellite image of a property versus none. Now, if you look beyond just in the space of land investing, we look at developers in solar and renewable energy in data centers. They already knew this. I mean, they've got budgets of millions and millions,
yeah.
and like we started seeing like how their data, when they pull data, they're also including the satellite images because
hmm
I think they already knew how much of an interrupter that is. And so that is something that we thought was really interesting. This is huge for us. If it's going to increase response rates by 30%, we should be doing that than not doing that. So coming back to the format that we saw, it's the 4 by 6. I'm going to talk a little bit more as to why and how do we structure the 4 by 6. It's not just like, okay, let's cram everything on that. What do we actually put on there? How do we build trust? Because there's a lot of like, unfortunately, a lot of skepticism now with buyers. How do we build trust? How do we solve problems? And how do we
hmm
speak to that? These serious operators that we're seeing are doing this, and they're being quite hush hush about it. But I'm gonna be able to, share some of the bigger sort of concepts there, and I have a framework that I'll be sharing on that webinar. Um, Satellite images, another big one.
And you're able to do that in Pebble.
Yes, exactly. A lot of
So it's
this.
put your list in. It's going to grab all that information, pump it out for you.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just gonna grab your list from, Land Insights, Land Portal, wherever you get your data from. We'll pull that data. We'll pull that all for you and get that out the door. And then the great thing is, again, is there's a full feedback loop here. You're gonna see how things perform, which templates perform on average, and so on and so forth.
And what's the best call to action right now? Is it go to my website? Is it call me? What's the
Yeah.
most? I don't know.
I don't have data on call to action. One thing that I've seen consistently is, yeah, being very clear to your call to action, and try not to overdo it. These smaller postcards are gonna give you a lot less, real estate
hmm
on, to
Nice.
to work with when it comes to that. So that's the one thing I think, is why we're getting better responses. I mean, 3x is a no joke number. I mean, 2x would have been awesome, but if we're looking at 3x, and it's funny, the 6x9 and the letter like perform pretty much identical. And I think what's happening is, the 6x9 tries to cram as much information as a letter. So
Yeah.
yeah, don't have too much information on the actual call to action. But the other thing I do want to talk about is the importance of uh, two things: the follow up and
Hmm.
the what I call remarketing. And so I want to make a very
Right.
distinct difference here because I think a lot of people interchange these two. When I'm talking about a follow up, I am talking about a lead. This isn't just the owner on a list that you purchased. These are leads that you're following up with. So they've
Right.
expressed interest or gotten back to you. These are leads. And so one of the silliest things I've seen a lot of people that mail is they only follow up by text or email.
Hmm.
Logically, you should be following up by direct mail, but nobody does this because it's impractical. Well, inside of Pebble, you're going to be able to do this. Obviously, I'm going to shed some light to this, but you're going to be able to enroll people and follow up through direct mail. And we see the serious people are doing this. They are sending letters out at least every 2 to 3 weeks once the lead has come in. And so, because there are no minimums, they're sending out postcards asking if they're interested. They're straight out sending out contracts and
Yep.
offers automatically. And they're doing this consistently, and it's not costing a lot simply because these are one-off letters. And so,
Yeah, and they're targeted. You're not remailing an entire list. This is just people
correct.
who. But how about
Yeah.
this? How about we just keep getting bigger and bigger postcards, right? Start with a 4x6, move to
Yeah.
an 8x11.
And then even a
I
even
mean,
a even a letter. I mean, it's better to follow up. Here's the thing: you already proven that they read and open that channel, which is direct mail. But like everybody doesn't follow up there, which is like it baffles my mind, but I get it. You should be. You know that is a channel already they're looking at. You should be tapping into that. Yes, you should still do the phone follow up, the text follow up, email if you have their email. But certainly, if that lead and you're running mailing campaigns, you certainly should be enrolling them into an auto follow up with direct mail. And yes, inside of Pebble, you're going to be able to get those one off letters out to them. All right.
mhm.
Now, on the other side, you mentioned earlier, the remarketing side. So, remarketing to an existing list. I'm going to throw some data here. I have a chart somewhere living here, but what we saw when it came to marketing to a list on that first campaign, um, you get a response, you get a certain response rate. The second campaign almost doubles in response rates. After the second one, it is now diminishing returns. But even on
Interesting.
average, the third outperforms the first. Up until the sixth remarketing campaign. Now, what happens is like after the sixth, what it's really weird. The response rate actually starts growing. Now, I believe that happens because less and less people are mailing though at the sixth, seventh time, but those people that are doing it, they know their area and
Yeah.
they're probably working a specific subdivision. So it's kind of a nuanced situation. What I want to drive home is that second, third, and fourth, you need to be remarketing. If I'm telling you here, second and third is outperforming the first, that's really important. And we see so many people, just hit a county and then move on, hit a
Well,
list.
yeah, I mean, there's this like real doom and gloom feeling that sets in when you send a mailer and you just don't get a deal. And
Yeah.
then you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, okay, I mean, if it's a big mailer, you might have spent like 5 grand, like
Yeah.
you could have put some serious money into a mailer. And then you're
Yeah.
like, I would be stupid to do it again. The
Yeah.
same list. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's a big mirror moment. I mean, real estate's all about having a lot of mirror moments, looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, all right, am I crazy? Most of us
Yeah.
are a little bit crazy. And it's so how much are you going to lean into that? But
I
I
mean,
completely agree with you. Like one thing, I probably mentioned this before on podcasts, but I know a few guys that only work a county
yeah,
just
yeah,
over and over and over. They're not
or a
getting new
subdivision
lists.
over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the people who are so dialed in that they just
yeah,
know, okay, well, it's going to cost me this much. I'm going
yeah.
to keep going back to the same list. I mean, for me, my goal was always to just build like a 12 county calendar. So
Yeah. Run per
every
month.
January, I'm going back
Yeah.
into the same county because
Yeah.
you're also breeding familiarity.
Yes.
It allows you to have much more pinpoint acquisition prices. You already know the real, you're just living in this existing ecosystem over and over again. But I do think that's probably one of the biggest myths is that you just have to constantly be hopping county to county or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
you shouldn't even talk in terms of counties right now. You should be talking about much tighter markets than that. But yeah,
I
if
mean,
you want
back
to
in the day,
feel
we could.
defeated,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I was talking about this not too long ago. My second campaign, that was exactly it. I got no responses. Now, I can't speak to that. Like, if you have no responses and nobody called back, there could have been something else that is at play here. And so, although I'm sharing these numbers, right, make sure you have everything tight and dialed in.
mhm.
I don't know what else can be affecting things that causes an outlier, but yeah, you'll want to double check that. But certainly, to remarket a list, you'll want to do that without obviously contacting existing leads or people that have gone back to you. Again, inside of Pebble, very easy to do with a couple clicks, and resend that out. We're looking at tighter groupings nowadays too, when it comes to remarketing. Every three, probably under 6 months, at least the first few. This is more or less hearsay in the platform than actually me pulling data. So take it for what it's worth. But we do see tighter remarketing nowadays. And also like lists are just a lot more targeted as well. So
Mhm.
uh, you know that, Logan. We're not really talking about county wide nowadays. It's just a lot more tighter when it comes to marketing.
I do have a quick question on the postcards, though.
Yeah.
Are people actually putting offer prices on postcards, or is this all sort of, hey, I want to buy land mail?
Yeah. I wish I had more data on if people were putting offers on there. And in fact, because you brought that up on the webinar, I'm going to get that data. So if you guys are interested to know if there's an offer on there or not, nowadays, I think you're, I think like it really depends. Like if you know that area really well and you've got your pricing on point and you understand what you can offer in that area, then an offer makes sense.
Hmm.
I'm on the fence of like, I'm going to try to get any callback I can and work that and negotiate it. So, for the most part, and especially the framework that I've sort of put together based on the things that I've been seeing, doesn't include an offer, but you certainly can. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this: what it does have on there is what I call a problem and solution statement. Avoid all those language about 30-day, cash, close quick. Nobody gives a hoot about that stuff anymore. Like you want to do the upfront work. If you know your list, if it's a probate list, if it's, tax delinquent list, like you need to be speaking to that. And yeah, like nowadays it's not as plug and play. It's not like, great, I pulled a list and I'm just gonna send whatever the heck I want out there and if it doesn't work, see, I told you it doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
no, I know these guys and what they're doing. They are figuring out what is their problems, like what is the most common problem with this list. And it can be something pretty generic. Like like the problem is they are their capital is stuck there, and so hey, the solution here is let me give you options on what you can do with the capital.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is so important, and I think people are really like are just sort of going blind. I mean, almost 90% of mailing that I see is just like, man, not another template you just got off of YouTube video or some training. It's like this stuff isn't gonna work. So I'm on a mission here to tell people like mailing works, but you need to put in the work. And it's really not hard work. It's quite straightforward, but you also have to trust the system. And so having some framework around that, and we're building out templates around these frameworks as well inside of Pebble for you guys to take advantage of.
Well, I think what you said is most important is like you need a system. You
Yeah.
know, the reason most people aren't going to be organized enough to remarket or schedule mail or things like that, it's just not viable if you're working like I all my acquisitions I ran off of, spreadsheets and follow up boss. It was nothing. It was there was not any potential to automate enough of that. So eventually you lose your mind. You're sitting here looking at buckets of leads and things like that and realizing, oh, you forgot this, you forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant to send that mailer last week. I mean, it was just so there's unless you have sort of a unified system and like
Yeah.
I honestly every time I'm talking to someone who's getting into land, I'm always like, just go with Pebble. You don't need to reinvent shit. I mean, that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to build my own mastermind. I went crazy, and then I just wasted a ton of time building something that was just a much lesser version of what's readily available.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, to your other point as well, I mean, a lot of the guys that I know who are killing it, they'll have like 5 or 6 touch points on a lead. So
Yeah.
they're not like they'll send, a postcard, a letter, they'll call. Sometimes they're still doing ringless voicemails and then they'll
Yep.
text and all the same. I mean, they'll
Yeah.
space it out. So it's not going to like hit them all in the same day. That'd be crazy. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, we're just not in an environment anymore where you get, a single
No.
black and white letter from a wholesale mail house and people are going to be just stoked to sell you their property at 10% of market value.
Yeah. I always say now the deals live inside the follow-up. So there's that initial reach where it used to be at, and now it's on this other side. And you need to shift your mindset. There's just a little bit of upfront work, and to get that organized is not hard. And to obviously centralize all that data in one place and all the properties and what you've done. Like, yeah. I mean, the thing is, you have to treat this like a business. It's for those that are not, you're just I mean, we see it. Like everybody's getting weeded out that is sort of like casually coming into this. And like you only need to look as far as like wholesaling houses. Like how competitive is that? Like they run
Yeah.
like really, really tight ships. The ones that are doing it. And like you can see the gap has widened so much in that. And that's the exact same thing with land.
Yeah.
The people that are running serious stuff and the people that are just coming in, like that gap has widened so much. Same with people that are mailing. The gap has widened. Nobody wants to spend the dollar to do it. Um, and so they're trying other methods and they're not putting much effort into that. And it's making it so much easier for a lot of people that are heavy mailers, take down a lot, consistently take down properties. So
Yeah. I'm curious on the postcards. I've never once sent a postcard,
yeah,
Um, are you seeing like what is the like you're gonna have a graphic as the background, right? I mean, so it could be a property. Or other people like putting brands,
yeah,
logo? Like I'll get mail from
yeah,
realtors where it's like their face, like
yeah,
oh, I sell
yeah,
houses or whatever.
yeah.
Um, so is there a common thread that you've noticed for? I mean, the content type
Yes.
or something
Yeah.
like that?
This is the stuff that I'll go through in the winning postcards framework, but I'll talk about it. So visually, I broke it into a few sort of concepts here. And the visual side, it serves two purposes. Like it's an interrupter and it's a trust builder. And so you can do a couple things that I've seen work well. Is one, showing that you know their area by showing some sort of local landmark. Um, these people get responses. So, whether it's a street that is like totally beat up and you want to talk about it, or, just showing that
Hmm.
you know the area
Yeah.
to some sort of landmark. That's one way. The other one is showing a property as a background that is similar to theirs that you've dealt with, and like helping them understand why you dealt with that property. Was it a specific subdivision? Is there, certain issues with this kind of property, or are you looking for properties similar to that and visually showing that? And then third is obviously like a satellite image, and this is where
Hmm.
like I have a lot more concrete info, because we can track the satellite image. I can't track every other image. I don't know what these images are, but from
Right.
what I've seen, right, the satellite images, compared to not using them on average, again, I said that increases that response rate by 30%. So that's a huge trust builder when you can show them their property right on the mailer and then just have a headline and like a doodle circle around, hey, let's whatever your line is and problem and solution to that property. Those are the three more common things that I typically will see with these serious ones, and the things that we're sort of measuring. So yes, visually, that's what I see. Logos, I think they're great. It's good to have a good balance between feeling like you're not a complete, faceless company. You
Yep.
do want to seem, obviously like a person. I mean, again, it's hard for me to measure some of these things. I have people that literally like scanned in a Sharpie on the one side of their postcard of what they want to do. So it's just a big headline on that, and then text on the back. But again, it's hard for me to know exactly. But for sure, satellite images on the back. Have whatever you want in there. You don't have a lot of space. One thing I do want to say is don't like shrink that text to make it so small just so you can fit everything in there. Keep it very straightforward. Who are you? What problem are you here to solve? And your call to action. Like
Yeah.
and then some proof. But the proof is on the front side. Again, I'll talk a little bit about that on the postcard. Sorry, on the webinar. But yeah, visual is important there. But there are obviously a lot of nuances.
Yeah, you should run a contest to design the most effective postcard. Everybody
Yeah.
has to compete. We'll all learn.
Yeah, that's tricky. I mean, like you can say like letters, like I know, again, these are averages. There's certain things like your letters could outperform a postcard. Like it really
Yeah.
depends on what you have on that postcard too. And then, what are you putting on that letter and the audience in that, area. Like there's a lot of factors. I mean, I got a lot of attention once with a letter that I put out there. I literally copied the priority mail from USPS logo. And it got me in trouble with USPS. But it did get me a lot of attention. So there's a lot of things you can do. And we have people that are printing the satellite image on that full windowed envelope and they see their property from there. And that, like, there's not enough data for me to make a conclusion on that. But, I will say, again, the postcard is really, really impressive.
Awesome. So, what other features? I mean, I think when we were talking maybe a year ago, you were
Yeah.
introducing some AI tools. Is there any other new things that have creeped onto Pebble?
Yeah, man, every month. So if you want to see what we're working on, like every month, we'll share that on YouTube. Um, that's youtube.com/pebble REI. But one of the big things is our insights. So getting you guys further insight into templates, getting you further insights into your performance. People are needing data to dial it in. From there, you can feed it to whatever you want to analyze your tool, or sorry, analyze your data. But you certainly can now, connect with Claude Cowork and whatever you can with AI and Zapier. I think there's a lot of this expectation of AI inside of platforms like Pebble. Um, the thing with it is that a lot of this is so brittle still to this point. I
Yeah.
mean, and so yeah, you could set up Cowork to do a lot of stuff. And then it's like, is that worth your time to doing that? So Insights is a big one. We're working on a couple other mailing features. We're doing a huge improvement on our letter builder. Again, letters and mailing has just been such a big, crucial part of the success of our users that we're going to double down on that. With phone and all that, like it's great. You can cold call, you can call from the platform, but texting and that, like I won't get into that. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're certainly improving a lot in there and building out new features. Um,
Have
Yeah.
you guys ever considered building like a triple dialer into Pebble?
I think we're gonna stay away from tools like that. It's hard with cold calling systems and whatnot. So we leave that to the experts to build out cold calling systems and other
Yeah.
marketing tools. So you certainly can connect all of that and pipe it into Pebble.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, we're gonna focus on taking care of, your property data, streamlining your team, communication side of there, and mailing and marketing. So all that's going to be inside of Pebble.
Well, sweet, brother. Anything else you want to talk about? Thank you again for coming on late with me. It's
Yeah,
7:30
no,
tonight. So
I hope some of this data that we've been digging into is useful for you guys that are listening. Whether you end up using Pebble or not, take that. I know, you are all fighting, to have a surviving chance here with this business model. Take it, run with it. If you want to learn more about the formatting and things that I've seen and a structure that I put around things, head over to pebblerei.com/winning postcards. And yeah, check it out there. But
all
Logan, thanks
right.
for having me on.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for being on, folks. Before we sign off, remember, go to landpartnerfunding.com. If you want to reach out to me because you're interested in doing a deal with me, you can email me at thelandfixer@gmail.com. Folks, it's been lovely. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.